gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's July the 11th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented as always by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And Matt, there's a lot of Canes fans out there that need help with their personal health this morning because everyone's blood pressure is percolating from the weekend, and we had some interesting going-ons around the commitment of defensive end Jaden Wayne. Some think he's a 5-star, some think he's a 4-star. There's a great disparity in the rankings of him by the 4 recruiting services, and it's something that we'll be talking about this in a couple of ways this week. Charles Power, who handles rankings, is in charge of rankings for On3. He's going to come on probably later in the week to join us on this show and talk about rankings, because I really want to do that. Because Matt, the one thing that I walked away from this weekend is that there's a great misunderstanding just about the process and how it works, and the perceptions that every time a kid commits to a certain school, that there's a bias for or against that school. And it really doesn't work that way. I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't times in the rankings process where coaches have input and say, hey, you guys may want to look at that one a little bit. You guys are way off, and they'll drop suggestions if they see things like that. And I would say that's probably the case with Jaden Wayne, but really it doesn't work that way. These rankings are done way in advance, and they're updated several times a year based on how kids are progressing and who's recruiting them and things like that. But no, they aren't changed the day a kid commits. And there was a lot of confusion around Jaden Wayne because there was a computer glitch in the 24/7 consensus rankings, and On3 has a consensus ranking, and 24/7 has a consensus ranking now. And what that means is they take the rankings of all 4 recruiting services and they factor them into the consensus rankings. And it's a phenomenal system because it gets more analysts involved in the equation. Some guys are going to think one guy's better. It's no different than when NFL teams are getting ready for the NFL draft. One team might have a guy ranked as a second rounder. The next team might say he's a 4th rounder or a 3rd rounder. There's not always agreement on these things. And that's why I personally love the consensus rankings, because it gives you a cross section and brings you to a landing spot on the rankings. So Jaden Wayne, okay, let's talk about him specifically. All right, so Jaden Wayne is ranked a 5-star by Rivals. They have him ranked as the number 13 player in the country, the number 2 edge rusher in the country. Okay, then 24/7 has Jaden Wayne ranked 36th in the country. Big difference between 13th and 36th now. And the number 5 edge rusher. Okay, fine. Then there's ESPN, which goes all the way to 74. They have him ranked at 74 and the number 7 edge rusher. And then On3 has Jaden Wayne at number 93 nationally and the number 15 edge rusher in the country. So just to give you background, I noticed this disparity during the week as we were preparing for the Jaden Wayne commitment. And I did call up the guys at On3 who did the rankings. And I said, hey, are you guys aware of this great disparity in Jaden Wayne's rankings? And I'm not sure that they had really looked at it that closely, but they explained to me why Jaden Wayne is ranked where he is in the On3 rankings. And when I look back on his film, I kind of understood a little bit, because I watched his tape, and Jaden Wayne looks really, really good as an edge rusher, but he spends a lot of his time playing wide receiver. Okay, now he's in the league that he plays in, he's a decent wide receiver, Matt. But like, if you're going to compare him to Brandon Inniss and Ray and Jaylen Brown and Andy Jean and these guys, he's not going to match up real well. But that was a big position, and there was a lot of teams that weren't sure whether they wanted to recruit him as a tight end or a defensive end, and it could have gone either way. Like Jaden Wayne could play tight end for a lot if you wanted him to. Miami's got 3 great tight ends. They don't want him at tight end; they want him at defensive end. But every team out there in the country's needs are different. So when you're an analyst evaluating Jaden Wayne for the first time, you're evaluating his entire body of work, and that he lines up half the time at receiver and half the time at defensive end. So they're evaluating it all. And, for whatever reason, they felt like 14 other defensive ends. And no, they're not looking at all these kids with bias. They're evaluating them each on their merits. And the guys doing the rankings felt that there were 14 defensive ends who were better edge rushers than Jaden Wayne. Can that change this year? Absolutely. He's going to be at IMG. He's going to be going against better competition. They're going to see him live more often than they do when he's out in the Pacific Northwest. He's going to be under a greater microscope, probably to his benefit. But at the time the rankings were done, that's the way they saw it, and they ranked them. And it didn't matter to them where Rivals had him, where 24/7 had him, or ESPN had him. And that's the God honest truth. There's no biases or anything. Yes, his poor ranking brings down his consensus. But when you look at the consensus, he's still ranked number 36 nationally by the average. And that's the way it's supposed to work. And that's outside the range of a 5-star. Right now, he is a 4-star, but it's still a very, very, very good ranking. He averages out at number 5 as an edge rusher in the country. So that's the explanation of what happened. Matt Shodell.
I'm here.
Yeah, man.
Doesn't seem like it, but I'm actually here.
Well, I needed to set the table. I need to explain everything to everybody. There was so much passion this weekend, so much anger, a lot of false information flying around. People saying he was dropped on the day of his commitment, which is not true. 24/7 did fix a computer error in their consensus on that day, which made it look like he dropped. But he did not drop. There's no funny business going on. There's no biases. There's no discrimination against Miami. There is a great disparity in opinions on Jaden Wayne's rankings. Maddie looks pretty good to me. That's all that I think Miami fans should be concerned about. This was a big pickup for the Canes.
Well, first of all, of course there's bias, but the idea is you want to find equally weighted bias. So if you have 4 different analysts, and one of them is a big SEC guy, you want to get one of those a big ACC guy who watches a lot of ACC teams. One of them is all the conferences represented, whatever. But the truth is, and I wish some recruiting person would figure this out. These are opinions. These are not objective. These are subjective. And I'm a data guy. I'm a numbers guy. What I would love to see somebody do is just take the last 4 years, take the teams that finished in the top 25 the last 4 years, where they finished. You apply a weight number to wherever it was in those last 4 years. So in other words, if Alabama is number 1 3 of the 4 years and number 2 the 4th year, they would have 0.96% for their offer to a kid. If another program is 25th and then not in it at all, they've got a 0.1 weighting, whatever it is. And then you look at how many
without that kind of system. I mean,
then you look at how many of those, probably wind up with about 50 or 60 schools. How many of those 50 or 60 schools have offered each recruit? You apply the weighted system based on the top teams in the last 4 years. It's not rocket science. You can do that. There's a formula that can pretty easily be figured out. That's an objective system. We know these schools have offered, because you can pretty much verify with sources who's actually offered and who hasn't, and who's dropped kids and who hasn't. You can keep updating it, and your stars will fluctuate based on who's getting dropped by which programs. Kid commits, you lock it in. He had 30 offers from those top 60 teams. He placed here. That's where he is. And if he keeps getting more offers even after that, then you can maybe move up the rankings. That's how I would do it.
Still not an exact science.
Otherwise, stuff like this is going to keep happening, and people are going to keep getting accused of having bias.
Well, I mean, look, I think, people think there's a bias in Alabama's favor. And in fairness, when you put together a run for as many years as you do, as Alabama has, and show a propensity for picking elite talent the way Nick Saban has, of course, if Nick Saban takes a commitment from a kid, an analyst is going to look extra hard at that kid from a positive point of view. I mean, that's just a natural instinct in that regard. But you're not going to you can't discriminate because Mario Cristobal, for example, is in his first year at Miami. And
what's wrong with assigning a point value to each school that offers a kid? Alabama offers, you get 0.9. Minnesota offers, you get 0.1. And just add up the offers they get for the top schools from the last 4 years. What's wrong with that system, Gary? Tell me. What's wrong with it?
I've never heard anybody say that before. It's an interesting idea you've got there, Matt. I don't know that would be the only criteria, but it could certainly be a criteria, I think. I mean, because teams do recruit to their needs also. But yeah, I mean, that would be a good criteria, maybe as a starting point, or
or you could do it like the playoff system where that's assigned 70% value and these analysts can get 30% value. Yeah, something like that. Or they can just throw darts at the wall, which it seems like they do sometimes.
Well, I'm looking forward to having Charles Power on this show later in the week. He said he's a little busy right now, but he'll come on later in the week. And I am looking forward to having him explain all this stuff because I don't think anybody really has a great understanding of it. And we've been in this business more than 20 years, and we've seen different people doing it differently. And, quite frankly, I was never pleased with the Rivals rankings. Every time signing day would come around, it seemed like everybody that Miami signed would be dropping in the rankings, and it would just not make any sense. But they weren't necessarily doing it to screw Miami. I mean, it was just a byproduct of whatever it was they were doing that was having it turn out that way. Maybe it was favoring the SEC schools, or based on what Matt's talking about. If you're signing with Alabama, maybe that means you need some special consideration in the rankings because Alabama's got a track record taking the best kids, and so that might earn a kid a bump up or something like that. But the bottom line, Matt, in my opinion, is these rankings are not intended to be absolutes. They are there as a guideline. They're there for fun. And I think people are just getting too stressed out by these rankings.
Not people. I mean, this is, this whole thing could be my DNR, but basically I have recruits that call me and ask, I can name names. It's not a secret.
No, don't name names.
Why not?
Don't.
For a recruit that wants an extra star and probably deserves it, that calls me and says, I need an extra star?
I don't think you should throw their names
out. All right. Anyway, multiple recruits call me.
Recruits calling, asking for better rankings is not, All
right. Well, the point is, recruits do call me, and they do say, why am I only this star on, the network we used to be on? And I'd say, listen, we're not involved. I've had recruits stop doing interviews with us because we were with a network that seemed to be biased, against that recruit compared to other sites. And I think that previous network, for whatever reason, also doesn't have as many 5 stars assigned nationally as On3 does. I think that's true. I think On3 has 25 stars. The other network has maybe, less than that. And that's a problem too, because now you filter everything down from that. I guess they wanted the idea being it's elite. Like, you remember in the old days, Miami wouldn't offer a kid forever. Miami would be the last one to offer because it was special, right? And we always thought that was great. We're like, when you get a Miami offer, it means something. It means they've evaluated you. They talk to your custodian at your school. That's what they used to say they would do. They talk to everybody around you. And then finally you got the Miami offer. It was special, but you can't do that anymore. If Miami tried to do that now, and with the last to offer, they would never get anybody. It's a whole different mindset for these recruits, and it's the star system, man. It's offer early. How many stars am I getting? What can you do for me? It used to be, what can I do for my team? It used to be, I need to earn the Miami offer. What can I do to earn the offer? It's the culture in the universe has changed. I'm not going to say it's for the better or for the worse. You can probably sense from my tone which one I think it is. But, it is what it is. And Mario Cristobal has navigated those waters extremely well, as you can see. And they're going to be adding more recruits this month to the commitment list. So I expect all those to be 5 stars by the time they sign, because you're going to talk to Mr. Powers and make sure that happens, right?
Well, you made a good point in that the assignment of 5 stars. And looks like Rivals has assigned 19 5 stars to this point. On3 has assigned 15 5 stars to this
So it's
point.
the opposite of what I thought. Is that right? That's interesting. I thought it was the other way around.
No, but it's close. I mean, and I think that's a good thing. Like, you don't want to give out 5 stars like they're candy. Like, that's the other thing. Like, if you're just handing out rankings to make people happy and handing them out like candy, it totally defeats the purpose of a 5-star ranking. And looks like 24/7 has given out. They've given out a lot of 5 stars. They're up to 30.
I think you said it was 40.
37 5 stars on 247.
You're mixing me up. You're saying On3, you meant 247. So 247 is going out way more than Rivals. Rivals are going more
than Rivals and On3. Okay. Correct.
Got it.
I mean, 247's giving them out like candy.
Well, guess what? It helps you get interviews with recruits. Recruits love it when your network says, "Hey, you're a 5-star. Can we do an update with you?" Kids love that. When you call a kid and say, "Sorry, you're a 3-star. I know the other network has you as a 5-star, but we'd love to do a story on you." It doesn't go over quite as well.
Well, but what's the point? Are rankings of PR? Are they a PR vehicle? Do they exist to make fan bases happy, or are they meant to be a true evaluation and analysis of players and the ability level of players and how they project to colleges? I mean, what are they? And I'll be interested to ask Charles Power that as well, because it's like, to me, if you're going to put out rankings, they should be true evaluations. And I do like the way On3 does their rankings. I like the way that they have scouting reports and they explain to people why kids are ranked where they're ranked. I think that's a positive. I mean, we look at Jaden Wayne and his scouting summary. Jumbo athlete who could project at edge or tight end at the college level. So when they evaluated him, they were looking at him as both an offensive and a defensive player. He's 6'5", 240, has good length, a 6'9" wingspan. The length shows up on defense, where he's able to beat offensive tackles with a long arm move. He shows good body lean and an ability to bend as a pass rusher. He makes plays against the run, but he can continue to add functional strength. So what they're saying is he can still get stronger, which is the case for most high school players. And the fact that he's playing wide receiver would suggest that he does maybe have some finesse in his game still. He plays wide receiver for his high school. He also could project as a tight end on offense. He's quick out of his breaks, shows sudden movements within his routes. He can adjust to low passes. I mean, it's exactly, Matt, as I explained it. Like, when they evaluated him, they weren't evaluating him as strictly an edge pass rusher. They were evaluating him as a football player who might end up playing offense in college, depending on who signs him.
Listen, I don't think that they talk to high school coaches about these guys that often. I don't think they talk to position coaches about these guys that often. I don't think they're talking to guidance counselors to see how hard they're, or weight room coaches to see how hard they're working or how hard they're working in the classroom. I think they're going pretty much off film, and then the times you're able to see them at some of the elite events, and that's about it. So I trust coaches. That's why college coaches. That's why I prefer to see a more objective system that takes into account, okay, these coaches actually evaluated this guy thoroughly and gave him a scholarship offer, so therefore he should have some reward in the rankings. But, fans love it, and anyone who takes the star system seriously the way it's done right now, you need to, go to Joe Stone Crabs and just chill out a little bit, because it'll make you crazy. It'll make you crazy. You can't follow the star system and worry about your team's rankings. And honestly, it doesn't. I mean, as long as you're somewhere in the top 10, top 15, it's not going to have a lot to do with your team's future success. As long as you can coach the guys up, you're getting good enough athletes that are as good as anyone else in the country, pretty much. So I know everyone wants Miami to be top 3 class. If you're top 10 and you're Mario Cristobal and the staff, it's fine. And they're already in the top 10. So this is already a success.
Well, people are looking at the rankings because Miami has been surging in those rankings. And Matt, no matter what you think about any individual ranking or whatever, you can't diminish the job that's being done right now by Mario Cristobal and the staff.
Right. That's exactly, literally, that's what I just said. Remember, I went back a ways, and the last time Miami had a top 5 recruiting class was 2008. I think they were number 3. But they haven't been bad in the rankings the last, I want to say, 2 years prior to this year, right? 2 years or 3 years. I think they were top 10 maybe one year, top 15 the other year, 11th and 8th maybe, something like that. So it's not like they weren't getting top kids according to these experts that are ranking everybody. And everyone who's complaining that the guys they got were being moved down in stars, they still finished in the top 15. Both, I believe, the prior 2 years, 2 last year, which was Mario Cristobal's first year. So I think the last 3 classes have all been rated pretty well. The 2 before that, not so much. But if you believe in the star system, then you have to also believe there's a ton of talent on this Miami Hurricanes team this year, because the last 3 classes have all been great. This class is going to be great. So you're talking about 4 top 15 classes in a row after next year that'll be on campus, and the ball should be rolling if you believe in the star system.
Well, it wasn't too long ago. I think Miami was down in the 40s in the team rank, and you can see here with this graphic that the Jaden Wayne commitment has elevated them from number 11 to number 7 here over the weekend. And keep in mind, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Texas have, I think, at least 5 or more commitments than Miami right now, and that's why they're so high on the list. Really, the top 4 are these 4. Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, and Miami. So the Canes are doing really, really, really well. Mario's doing fantastic. And they want to finish number 1. There's no doubt about it. And so, what Jaden Wayne is ranked does matter because it contributes to that. But
by the way, I was just looking at CBS. CBS did do a rating at one point. And from 2017 to 2021, they averaged up all the classes and where they were ranked. And Miami ranked 15th in the country total. And they have not been 15th in the country on the field. So there's a disconnect between the rankings, the progression of the players on the field, and the results, for sure.
But I'll say a couple things. One, we have nothing to do with the rankings. So if you're mad about something ever, now, in the past, in the future, please don't take it out on Matt and myself. We have zero say on what anybody is ranked. That's, there are people whose job it is to do that, and we don't get involved in that process. I mean, I saw the big disparity this week on Jaden Wayne, and I shot a message saying, hey, is this right? Because it just seemed bizarre to me. But typically, we don't get involved in what kids are ranked. That's number 1. Number 2, everyone's competitive. Everyone wants to see the Canes number 1 in the country in recruiting. Okay, no argument. But you want it to be a real ranking. You don't want the team rankings to be artificial, based on complaints or disagreements or whatever. Jaden Wayne was ranked where Jaden Wayne is long before he was even considering Miami, and long before he visited Miami, and long before he committed to Miami. So his ranking is his ranking. And I think it's great that there's composites because it combines all 4 services, which, gets a lot more people's opinions in the equation. And you get more of a true ranking that way. And Jaden Wayne is left just outside 5-star territory as a composite. But listen, if you're the number 35 player in America, it's pretty damn good, okay? And there's no shame in that. And it's a great pickup for the Hurricanes. And it bumped them from number 7 to number 4 in the team rank. I mean, number 11 to number 7 in the team rankings. And there's a lot of guys still left out on the table that can still commit and keep driving it up even further. So, Matt, all in all, I wanted to give some perspective on all this and let us weigh in. But feel good about where Miami recruiting is going right now. It's trending in a very big direction. So how does that pertain to the news of the day? Well, here's how it pertains. We have a story today on the website where we break down the recruiting picture right now as it stands today. We're calling it the CaneSport Recruit Stock Report, and we go position by position, and we discuss who Miami's chasing, where they stand, and how it's impacting the overall class. And Matt, a lot of positives in there.
Oh yeah, and I think July they're not done, man. I mean, July 12th announcement by Raul, he could easily wind up here. I think Jaden Bonsu, we both agree, looks pretty good. Peyton Kirkland wants to come here if they'll take him. I think Malik Bryant's looking good. I mean, that's the next 4 announcements, right? So, and then John Walker, I think they're still in the game with him for sure. So, and Tommy Kinsler could announce this month as well. I think he said later in the month. So, I mean, it's the crazy part about it is these are not local recruits. These are top national guys who are not for the most part, from South Florida. And it's by design. We've talked about it before, but I guess some people maybe who just haven't been watching Good Morning CaneSport as adamantly as they should. Basically what Mario Cristobal has done is he's been smart about it. The December signing period has changed everything. In the past, you get your out-of-state and your local recruits to come visit in January, right before they sign. That's the goal. So you get 15 visitors every weekend of the open period in January when they can visit. With the December signing period, what Mario's done is said, geez, these kids from out of state, they have their own football seasons starting in August, and August is a dead period almost the entire month. And we can get local kids to come here from anywhere from Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach to come on campus on a Sunday, when they have a day off from their own team, come to our games. It's not going to be a problem to get them around the program. And they could easily take official visits, just come down the street in December, assuming their season's over, not in the playoffs, they can come take an official visit right before signing day. They could just come for one day, out of that weekend if they have a game, come on the Sunday, whatever, before the dead period ends, before that final signing day in December, that Wednesday. So the focus has been getting out-of-state guys first, getting local guys next. And the good sign is these local guys have not committed to other programs other than Brandon Innes and, maybe another one here or there. Most of them, if you notice, are still waiting. And that's a great sign for Miami because they've taken a lot of visits to out-of-state programs, but they're not going to be going back because it's the dead periods here. They can go back for 1 week in July, 1 weekend in the end of July, and that's it. And then come, September when things open up again, they're in their season. They live right here. They're not going to, unless it's a bye weekend, they're not going anywhere, So it's really the ball's in Miami's court. They've done exactly what they wanted to do in this called the June cycle. They've gotten commitments from a lot of guys that they wanted. And the guys that they want to get later on have held off on committing anywhere. So it's perfect. This is like the perfect storm for Mario Cristobal. He's got to be super happy on vacation in where does he go on vacation? He goes to the Hecht for vacation, right? And he puts his feet up for 10 minutes and then gets back to work. Is that his vacation?
He doesn't take vacation. No time for vacation.
But this is when coaches take vacation normally.
Well, a lot of the department is on vacation.
Yeah, well, there's nothing going on recruit-wise. It's all game prep and the usual texting and talking to kids on the phone. That's about it.
Yeah, Mario's still spending his 18 hours a day recruiting, so it doesn't matter. All right, so we do have a summary. It'll give you guys a really good snapshot of where things are in recruiting. So make sure you take a look at that. All right, from there we have a lot that came on the website over the last couple of days since we last saw you on the show. Matt and I will talk about a few things, but I'll run through them real quick, kind of like in sequential order here. We have a story on the site about Stanquan Clark. He's the linebacker recruit out of Miami Killian. Miami is recruiting him very, very hard. He says the Canes will make a final cut. You can check out that one. Okay, our State of the U 2022 series continues today with a look at the 2018 Miami Hurricanes recruiting class. I'm going to warn you in advance. Make sure that that the wife and kids aren't in the room when you're looking at this because you might start throwing things against the wall. Matt, those early recruiting classes that make up this current team, they weren't pretty.
Yeah, and this is the class that would have been in year 5, I guess, right?
Yeah, this would be the fifth year. This would be fifth-year seniors. Yeah,
not many of them left, And usually you hope the ones that are gone are the ones that got that turned pro, not that just transferred or didn't work out and had to leave, And the only ones who worked out in the whole class, really, I would say, would be Brevin Jordan. And you could even argue, of course, Gregory Rousseau worked out, but Gregory Rousseau had one good year. He opted out the last year. He barely played his first year. So, yeah, he had a 1-year impact on the program, even though he's unbelievable. And then the only other guy who you would even say is worth, really good is Will Mallory. And honestly, Will Mallory hasn't really, we know his potential. That's why I mention him. But he hasn't had a breakout season yet. He's not draftable right now by the NFL. And that's it. And there was 25 players in this class. And that's, that's why this team's gone 28 and 21 the last 4 years. There's been just so many guys that transferred out. And, I mean, you could just go down, remember Bubba Baxa? He was in this class. Nigel Bethel, he was in this class. Marquez Ezard, Realist George, Gervin Hall left. Brian Hightower is transferred to Illinois. D. Wiggins left. It's unbelievable. Patrick,
it's all you guys out there. You were just
Patrick
stressed
Joyner
out about star rankings back then in 2018 as you are today.
I'm not even done. Patrick Joyner joined Banda. Lorenzo Lingard left for UF. Mark Pope we know about, of course. Nessa Silvera left.
He was a 5-star.
I mean, that's an entire class that just didn't work out and left. What I just named. I don't know how many that was. 15. It's an insane number that just didn't work out. That could have been here for 3, 4, 5 years and had no impact or didn't make it to 3, 4, or 5 years. Period. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. So
it's actually the worst. I mean, I haven't tabulated the numbers, even though I'm a data guy, but I have to think this is the worst. Percent-wise of guys just leaving.
We've seen others like this.
I don't know, man. 15 out of 25, whatever it was.
There were years. I've been
ratio.
calling it self-imposed probation for many, many years. You could go back another 5, 6 years. It would be the same thing. I mean, the way this program was being run is just unfathomable. It's unbelievable. Thank God Mario's here now. It's a complete, total reversal. And it's pretty obvious where Miami is headed. Under the current regime, but they got to play this season, and that means that they are going to have to deal with the stench of 2018's recruiting class and what has become of it, and that's why it's in the State of the U series that we're doing, and it really gives you a better feel for some of the hurdles that Mario Cristobal and the staff are facing this year without any kind of fifth-year senior class whatsoever to speak of. So pretty interesting story there. Make sure you check it out. All right, we had a whole bunch of coverage, obviously, on Jaden Wayne's commitment. We talked to his coach. We talked about the rise in team rankings, about his commitment and what he had to say on TV. So make sure you check that out. Now, next up, there's a running back that Miami really, really wants. He set August 10th as his announcement date. That is Cedric Baxter. And Matt, Miami's all in on him. I don't know where this is going to end. Texas A&M and others are all in on him too. What's your feeling right now on Cedric Baxter?
Yeah, we had a really nice conversation. He doesn't do a lot of interviews, so it was nice of him to take a few minutes. Look, he definitely likes Miami a lot, and he's he's announcing August 10th. He's got Miami, Florida, Texas, and Texas A&M. The only official visit he took is to Texas. A lot of people think he's going to wind up there. I don't think there's a high degree of optimism right now about him at Miami, but they're not giving up. And we've seen this with other recruits already in this cycle. Jaden Rashad is a perfect example. There wasn't a high level of optimism on Jaden Rashad in the building at Miami for a long time, and they managed to flip the script, however you want to say it. And they can do the same thing again. Like, you can't. That's why when people ask for predictions and percentages, they're like, well, and I changed it a couple of times because it keeps changing. But they're like, well, you said 30% on Malik Bryant. Well, yeah, at the time I posted it, it was probably.
No, you're a flip flopper. Yeah. You change your predictions every 10 minutes if you can.
What's your definition of a recruit? A recruit is, by definition, a flip flopper.
I mean,
they look at 4 or 5 schools.
The prediction machine at On3 has created a monster in you, man. Like, you run in there, you make your prediction, and then 10 minutes later, when we get new information, you're ready to put a flip.
I haven't changed a single prediction, except I think there was one that I changed. Yeah, and that was because who was it?
You were too quick on the trigger. That's all.
You changed it too, I think. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, the point is, it's recruiting. This is what makes it fun. If everybody knew where everyone was going, it's actually sort of annoying when, because we don't like to leak stuff. We hear stuff on kids, and we don't like to say he's definitely coming ever, because this is just not what you do. But with the system the way it is now, I mean, it's almost like, I didn't even watch the Jaylen Brown, like I'm sure other people didn't either, because you know where they're going. Like, you know where they're going. 3 days, 2 days, the day before, it takes the fun out of it. I just wish there was none of these prediction models, and it's just, I guess
we're under pressure now too, because we got to get used to this prediction machine. Because the other day I put in a prediction machine, and I posted Jaylen Brown that with 70% probability, I think it was, is going to go to LSU. And man, like these guys are on 3, man. This is a well-oiled machine. This is like a major operation that we've got here going on and on 3. And like they must get they get a notice when we put these predictions in, because like within a couple minutes of me putting it in, there's tweets going out. Miami insider Gary Ferman says Jaylen Brown's going to LSU, and man, I'm thinking to myself, holy cow, I better be right. Thank God I was, but like it's like, man, like this is like,
I mean,
this is like
there's other sites that make front page stories out of them making a prediction. Like that's the new story. Don't interview the kid. Don't interview the kid's coach. Just say, I think he's coming, or I think he's not coming. That's your story. I mean,
I think the moral of the story is we got to make sure that we're on point. Like if we're going to make predictions, like Matt and I, we got to make sure that we know what the heck we're talking about.
It's my point. It's just a different type of journalism. Like we're not used to. We grew up in that era where I would read a newspaper every morning. You open the newspaper, you read a story, and it's a pretty in-depth story with quotes from people and all that. And if you read an editorial, even the editorials had quotes. And now it's like all these stories from everybody. It's just like, my prediction is he's coming here, and last time we talked to him a month ago, here's what he said, and here's who he's choosing between and when he's announcing.
That's that information. They want to know what we think.
But guess what? Fans like it. Fans click on it. Fans like it. Fans love the speculation. So,
and what I'm saying is,
who am I to be an old school person who ruins all the fun?
Well, what I'm saying is we better,
that is who I am.
Before we become dangerous when we think. So before we think, we better make darn sure we know what we're thinking, because it's going to be out there now, and we need to be accountable for it. So but we can handle it, Matt. We can handle the pressure. All right. So anyway, so yeah, Cedric Baxter. I think Miami's more in it than a lot of people think. Of
course you think so.
Well, I've been wrong too many times so far, Matt. They're getting all the kids I've been saying they're going to get. You can make fun of me. Oh, Gary's too bullish. Blah, 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 blah. They've gone from 45th to like 7th in the team rankings.
I could name 10 guys.
Good Morning CaneSport
for every 10
guys of me. Okay, keep going, man. Keep making fun of me.
For every 10 guys get right. For every 10 guys get right, there's a Dante Moore out there where you think they're all going to come anyway. And, you can't say everyone's going to come because they can't take everybody.
I didn't say Dante Moore was coming here. Listen, I got my cane shades on, okay? They went from 45 to 7 in the team ranking, okay? And I have no problem being the guy that's bullish about the recruiting that we're watching taking place right now, because it's pretty darn good, okay? And I think it's going to continue to be pretty darn good. So
I should go through every target on the list and name them to you, and you probably say good chance, good chance, good chance, gonna get him, good chance, good chance. Like, who aren't they getting, Gary? Because I mean, maybe they will get everybody. Maybe they will. I don't know, but you certainly think so.
We have it in the story today. I mean, I think you and I were pretty much in agreement on pretty much everything that's in that story that we're putting out this morning. I don't. But look, I mean, like, I think Cedric Baxter, I think that they're doing a little bit better. And here's why. I've been talking a lot on the message boards about the concept of trying to get guys to realize this is a different world that we're living in now in terms of college recruiting. And NIL has changed everything. And yeah, the rules are NIL shouldn't be a factor in recruiting and all that. Yeah, okay, whatever. But the bottom line is this, okay? You can't be all in on everybody. Okay, some guys are going to get bigger NIL deals than others. You're going to, the competition for these guys certain guys is going to be heavier than other guys. And, if you're going to say go all in on Ray at receiver, and, you decide he's our guy, he's our number one receiver recruit, we're going to do whatever we got to do to make sure that we position ourselves to get him. Okay, fine. But, and then let's say you're going after Andy Jean or Hakeem Williams or whatever. You may not be able to go after Jaylen Brown, for example, with the same level of intensity. And LSU might be doing that, which they were. And LSU might be showing Jaylen Brown that they're gonna love him a little bit more after he gets there and they give him his NIL deal than Miami is going to be loving him if he goes to Miami. And that's a fact of the matter in recruiting right now. So schools, I think, have to kind of isolate who they really, really want. Those are the guys they go all in on. And as it pertains to what I'm saying about Cedric Baxter, I think they're all in on Cedric Baxter. So I don't think Miami loses Cedric Baxter because they're not competitive with Texas A&M or anybody else. Cedric Baxter, I think, is going to know that he will be treated very fairly at Miami in terms of any of those extracurricular considerations. And it's going to be a true decision on his part where he wants to go to school. And I think Miami's in there. I'm not going to predict that he's coming to Miami, but he is, without question, their top running back target. Mark Fletcher's right there, too. And I think they have a chance with both of them, but I can't predict they're going to get either one of them. Would you agree with that, Matt?
Yeah, look, I put my big money, my big 20% on Mark Fletcher, and everyone freaked out. Look, Cedric Baxter, I think I put him at 25% a few days ago. When I talked to him, I still would leave him at 25%. I just didn't get a great feeling on it. But yeah, of course they're going to try hard and try to get him. And again, NIL money is the X factor. And there are some recruits that Florida's trying to get that are, from what I've heard, Florida's struggling because they have these NIL gray area offers out there, but some recruits aren't trusting it because some of the players are saying, well, I was supposed to get an NIL deal and I didn't get it, or I didn't get what I was supposed to or something. So,
but even they've had a flurry of commits lately. Florida, not doing terrible in recruiting.
Yeah, well, I just know what I've heard. And so, you need to have a reputation not just for giving out NIL offers, but actually going through with it. So
they're up to number 15 in the team rankings now. Yeah. They were way down there too.
Listen, there's no doubt that there's Florida people that are offering a lot of NIL money. And if recruits think they're going to get it, of course, why wouldn't you, But the question, and if you don't get it, I guess you wind up transferring. But, we'll see. We'll see. Because at the end of the day, there's no recruit that's going to pass up an extra few $100,000 to go to his number 2 choice over his number 1 choice, which is a shame, as I've said before. But can you blame them? I mean, money's money. And a lot of these recruits, whatever the average American income is, it's not the amount of money they're getting in these NIL deals. The NIL deals are above that. So unless they're way above that level, this is big money.
All right. Let me touch on a few other stories that are on the website today. One of the cool things we're doing right now is talking to the local high school coaches and getting their perception and opinions on the Miami Hurricanes. We have Dillard coach Tyler Tate over the weekend. We had Belen coach Don Cheney Sr. So make sure you check those out. Our CaneSport Player Performance Index series has been continuing with number 23, Caleb Johnson, number 22, Corey Couch, and number 21, Darryl Porter Jr. Make sure you check that out. Also on the coaches front, we also have Shaman Madonna coach Damian Jones talking about the Miami Hurricanes. So that's interesting. As part of the State of the U series, we took a look at the elite coaching staff and the major dividends that's going to pay. And then we had a couple other cool stories. The odds makers have put the Miami Hurricanes at plus 325 to join the SEC. I thought it was pretty funny that they have odds on that. I wouldn't put a whole lot of money on it, to be honest with you. It's not. I don't know what the heck all those odds on that front means. Nobody has any clue what's going to happen. And then CBS Sports did some rankings of head football coaches. They ranked Mario Cristobal number 3 in the ACC, number 19 in the nation. So you could check out that story as well. Before we go, Matt, let's take a moment and hear from our friends at LifeWallet.
I'm Angela Green, and I am LifeWallet.
Since I've had LifeWallet, I have felt more secure to play.
To protect you and your family, download LifeWallet now.
All right, so busy week ahead. Lot of recruiting still going on, and so we'll be bringing you all of that this week. And we're also going to try to have some special guests on. I mentioned Charles Power. We'll try to have some other ones just to shake things up a little bit on this show and give you guys some different opinions and perspectives. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We thank you so much for starting your day out with us this morning. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next time.